Today we are going to be talking about brumating Schneider Skinks. And I know that I'm a little bit late in getting this information out there as we are approaching the later part of the winter season. However, I never want to relay information or put information out there that I haven't tested myself. And this year we tried something new, we tried something different, and we had some success. So here we are getting that information to you. So why are we talking about brumating Schneider Skinks and why is it important? Well, as you know, my goal is to help create a captive bred market for Schneider Skinks, which is overwhelmingly dominated by wild caught. And in order to do that and successfully breed, which is the primary goal, we need to also be successful in brumating, as it is an essential part of their natural life cycle. So we're going to go through real quick, show you what I did, how I brumated my Schneider Skinks. Additionally, we're going to show you one of our enclosures that we have for our Schneider Skinks, how I have it set up, and it'll give you a little bit more insight as to how we drop those temperatures down. So I will start off by saying that while I did have success brumating the Schneider Skinks, I did warm up the room quite a bit early, probably around 30 days early, in which we did have a few of the Schneider Skinks pop up. A lot of them are still down right now, but I suspect over the next 3 to 4 weeks they'll all start coming back out. Let's quickly rewind back to the start of winter. So once our cooler temperatures started to drop, and just so you guys know, primarily all of my Schneider Skinks were imported from Egypt, and I do have two that came in right before I started brumating that were long-term captive, which was awesome because we got the opportunity to not only brumate wild caught, but we also were able to brumate long-term captives that had probably never been brumated before, aside from when they were living in the wild several years ago. But it only reinforces the fact that you can still brumate your Schneider Skinks even if they weren't brumated last year or the year before that. So all of my temperatures, I got them from kind of averaging Cairo, Karga, and a couple other areas of Egypt. We really just accumulated all the averages, and that goes for temperature and humidity. And it also gets probably quite a bit colder than you might think of in Egypt as well. The humidity is actually higher than you might expect. So to kick off brumating, what did we do? As you can see, our enclosure, we have 2 basking lights and then we have our UVB. To start it off, we did knock out one of the basking lights, so we only had the 110 basking light on the left side there. We knocked out the 95-degree basking light on the right side, and we kept it like that for about a week. After which we went ahead and knocked out the 110 basking light. So at this point we had 0 basking, only UVB, and the ambient room temperature was about 74 degrees. So it'd be 74 during the day, might drop to about 70, between 68 and 70 overnight. And this is where it might get a little bit complicated for most people, and you might have to get a little bit creative. However, we needed those temperatures overnight to drop down to about 55 degrees. And it does get even colder than that. In January, in let's say Karga, it gets down to about 48 degrees overnight and hits probably highs of low 70s during the day. So we needed to start hitting those 50, 55 degree temperatures. However, we have a lot of reptiles that do not brumate, and 55 degrees would be extremely dangerous for them. So we had to put our Schneider Skinks in a separate room. We had to close off that room completely and attempt to control the temperature of that room separate from our actual reptile room where all, let's say, our geckos are that need temperatures around 70 degrees and above. Which this part was a little bit easier for us, I will say, because I am in the Northeast. Our winters are fairly cold. It's getting down into 20 degrees right now, and simply cutting that room off would just naturally drop the temperatures to around 58 degrees, which was fine. Wanted to get it a little bit colder. I think overnight we hit around 55, 54, which I called that good enough. So we really started this process at the end of November. So we dropped those temperatures down to around 55 degrees overnight. And then it came up to about 68, between 68 and 70 during the day. Again, both basking lights off. The UVB remained on since we have to replace it anyway next year. Might as well leave it on even if they aren't above ground. And the one thing we did do is provide them fresh water daily, no matter what. We did cut off all food. There was no food provided, but we did make sure that there was fresh water in case they did pop up and needed to hydrate. So we kept these temperatures consistent through December and January. We're at the end of January now, and I didn't see a single Schneider skink for about 2 months. And I would be lying if I said I wasn't worried. I mean, it almost feels like you're doing a disservice to your pet when you are completely ignoring them for 2 months, not feeding them, not turning on the lights, keeping the temperatures way below what they should be. It is kind of scary because you do worry about your reptiles. However, that being said, we did stick to the schedule. This is a natural part of their life cycle. We just had to keep telling ourselves that. And then we get to last week where I started to warm the temperatures up a little bit. Now, we didn't turn on both basking lights. We did pop on one. We raised the ambient temperature overnight back to around 68 to 72, and then during the day, it probably gets more around 72 to 75 degrees. So we kept those lights on beginning of last week. We did have 3 Schneider Skinks that did pop up once we did warm up those temperatures. Of those 3 that popped up, I think 2 went kind of back down. They haven't popped up to stay, but we did have one Schneider Skink who hasn't really gone back down to brumate. It was really nice seeing them though. I know we probably should have tried to keep them down for another couple of weeks, but I did miss them and I was pretty excited to see them. And not only that, but they were in fantastic condition. It didn't look like they skipped a single day of feeding, albeit a little bit slow. I mean, they did just take a 2-month nap. However, aside from that, they did look absolutely great, which was extremely relieving. Now, I know we did skip past humidity, so let's hit that really quick. I took the humidity from, like I said, an average between Karga, Cairo, a couple other areas. Took the humidity average, and that's what we used. Overnight, it actually hit upwards of 70%. Which means, you know, once you mist at night, it's going to spike it to that 70%. It's going to slowly dry out overnight and then into the day. If it gets down to about 40% by morning, I would do a quick mist again just to spike it up so it can dry back out. But throughout brumation, I would say that our average humidity was probably hovering around 50%, whereas during the summer months, it's probably more around 30% with those basking lights on, with a spike in humidity in the morning and at night. But during the day, it dries out extremely quick because of the high temperatures that we keep in their enclosures. And I think in about 2 weeks, we'll probably pop on the second basking light and keep that ambient temperature above 74 degrees and bring it back to normal. At which point, I hope the rest of the Schneider Skinks start making their way out, and then we move forward to the breeding season. So overall, so far, we've had a very successful brumation. Hopefully another update to come here in a few weeks, and hopefully we have some more captive bred Schneider Skinks by the end of this year. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one.